Well, Jared's got the 7710 in the shop here. He's putting an exhaust pipe on it. We just got this back from Kaz. They ended up putting a new transmission in it, and they ended up putting a new cab roof on it. Nate dropped a bale of hay on top of the cab there a year or so ago and got all that wrecked, so that's all brand new. Got some LED lights up in the top there. But we noticed this exhaust pipe was loose. This mount right here was broke, and we got digging into it, and this pipe coming off of the muffler was all broken, and it kind of had been like that for a while because it's got the insulation all mungered up there. So this tractor we usually use on a manure pump, so it's left unattended between loads for quite a while, and if it had went any longer, it probably would have started the tractor on fire. Ironically enough, this tractor did catch on fire about 15 years ago. We were filling silo for a neighbor, and we had it running a blower, filling silo, and it was also running a table, and we didn't know it, but the exhaust pipe was cracked, and what it had done was it got everything all hot here in the dash, and it actually started all the wiring and everything on fire. And farmer that we was filling the silo for, he did the best he could to get the fire put out with a garden hose, but it just got kind of overcome. He did call the fire department. The fire department came. Actually, a couple of firemen with fire extinguishers put it out before the fire truck got there, and then they ended up leaving the scene. But the wiring, the key switch and everything was starting to short out, and they never unhooked the batteries, and luckily it didn't start on fire again. I ended up unhooking the batteries when I got to it. I was driving truck at the time, and they should have cut the battery cables with bolt cutters or something, but that's a known problem with these 7000 series tractors and even the 8s. That exhaust pipe, if goes unnoticed, can start the tractor on fire because it's just so tight to everything there. And if you have your exhaust blowing down on your wiring, and then you've got a plastic fuel tank right there, boom, they go up in flames. So Jared's getting all the piping apart on that, and we've still got a mess of our 6.8 liter engine that came out of the payloader that we've got to get put into a crate. We've got the transmission is in the W9, but we're going to do kingpins on it. So we're going to get back after a few things here. I do have to get this mess cleaned up. We had a couple of projects that got in the way of things yesterday, and it limited me from being able to get this mess cleaned up. We ended up working on the vac truck yesterday, which I can go over and show you that here in a minute. However, I did not video any of that yesterday. So he's going to get that apart. We're going to get this mess cleaned up. So I didn't end up videoing any of this project yesterday, and I wish I did, but I just didn't. This is our Mensch vac truck, and what we use this for is to clean manure in the heifer barns. Now, it's all vacuum, and then it's got a scraper on the front. I've made a few videos of this thing being used, and maybe I'll put a card up above here if I think of it. It's got essentially a plow on the front of it and a large vacuum unit, and as it goes down through the barn, it sucks up the manure. Again, it's all vacuum. It holds 3,600 or 3,400 gallons. I could put another card up here on when we worked on it, or I'll put it in the video description or something. We ended up having to put bearings in this and climb in it and all that crap, but it runs off a vacuum. And on we ended up replacing this black hose here, and they actually got a new and improved design to it. It did have a 90-degree elbow that went on the top, so it came forward and then it came out the side, so a hose hooked on the side. And the hose came off of the top. It come around here. It was about out in the width of the unit, right about there. And then it come down to the scraper head itself. They give us, part of the kit was this elbow here. These are just utility tires, but they're used to give that pipe a little more flex. Again, this elbow, we put a new tire coupler on there and a new hose. The old hose is right there. In this, and then an extension there, like a 27-degree extension there, and another tire coupler up top. Now, we ended up taking 90-degree elbow off in there. We put that straight on, and then it just ran the pipe to the front, and it keeps that pipe out from the side. The coupler down on the head, that had a piece of pipe on here that came to about, it was about in here somewhere, and then a straight piece ended up bolting on to come over to this hose. And this was all rotted out, so we had to weld this 8-inch piece of pipe on there. I'm like 8.5 inches long or something like that to get this elbow to swoop out. So we ended up ordering a new elbow to come off that head, so we do have to do some more work to it, and it turned into be a little bit longer of a project than I anticipated on. The reason why I didn't video it was because I thought it was just going to be just a quick job, and I actually had a couple of the other guys planned to get on it, and then I had to jump on it, and then by the time I jumped on it, it was already all tore apart. It wasn't going to make for a good video anyway. So at any rate, that's all on there. It works a lot better. It's got this hose out to the side here, and it kind of narrows up the whole machine a little bit. So, well, we're going to get into cleaning up our mess of our 6.8 liter engine. We're going to put everything in a crate and call it good here. All right, Jered and Wyatt have been working on this 7710. Jered's just about got it all tore apart. Again, what was the problem? What the problem was here is this elbow pipe that came off of the muffler that comes over and underneath the cab, and then it goes to the vertical exhaust pipe. This pipe was broke, and what it was doing is it was leaking exhaust, and then there's a piece of insulation that comes over the front of it here, and we need to replace this insulation. You can kind of see the delicate parts that are in behind that insulation. You got the steering valve, and then there's the brake valve here, but you need not have any heat get on that. And then you've got enough hoses and wires here, heater hoses and the cab wire harness and engine wire harness and stuff like that. So that is kind of all protected, and then this pipe has a piece of insulation on it, and you know, it's kind of a dangerous setup, really. And like I had said earlier, there's plenty of these 7,000 and 8,000 series tractors are set up like this too, that have burned because of this frickin' exhaust pipe. It goes unnoticed because it's so in and underneath the tractor. You got a side panel here, and the only part of this tractor that you see is like from just this part here. Everything else is covered. So we've got, like I said before, we got a new cab roof on there. That got demolished here a couple years ago. A bale come down on top of it, and when it was into the dealer, they put a new transmission in it, and they ended up replacing that cab part. Long as it was over there, I had them do it. But what Wyatt is working on, we've got one bulb that's not working. They're LED lights. They're rather a nice light, but one's not working, so he's trying to figure out what's going on there. He doesn't know if he's got a wiring issue or just a bad bulb, but he's going to get that fixed, and then we just got some other things that we've got to order for it. Isolators for this exhaust stack, and there's some other pieces that go in under the cab here, so we're getting after it here. Well, today was kind of a long day that I didn't get really much done. I've only gotten through about half of this stuff here that come off of or come out of the engine in that 624 payloader. I'm looking up stuff, taking pictures of the stuff that I want to sell on eBay and whatnot. And I'm only about halfway through the stuff. Wyatt's got the lights working on 7710. It didn't end up being a bulb. It ended up being just one of the plugs was goofed up on that. I just got them on there now. But I didn't get as far as I wanted to with this stuff. I wanted to have this stuff all cleaned up, setting in the crate. I've got some of the stuff categorized here, and we've been taking pictures, of course, of the stuff that is viable to sell. But other than that, some of this other stuff is going to make its way out to the scrap iron truck. The block isn't any good. We've got some gears and whatnot. I've looked at them online, and they're not bringing much money. So by the time you frickin' put freight in there and time and all that crap, might as well just throw it out. I can't find a used cam, and I don't know as if anybody would end up putting a used cam in, and of course the crank is garbage. Now, the W9, I had spoke about that earlier. Let me shut these lights off on that tractor before I forget about it. Alright, so we got them lights shut off. I had spoke about it earlier in the video, the W900, the transmission's in there. Jered has got that ready to go, however, we did not haul any manure with that. We're going to do some front end work to this. I don't know, I guess this is kind of a confession or just a straight up whatever here, but this is truck 8. Now, I did a video on the kingpin on this right hand side. It was a great side to do for video. Everything went as planned. It was just, it couldn't have worked any better. Now, we had heated that up the night before, or the day we heated it up, we took it all apart, and then I didn't end up putting it back together till the following day. However, on the other side, I kind of rushed it. I kind of screwed myself. I just actually got this truck together today. I heated this side up here to get the kingpin out. And of course, you've seen me in the other, when I did the other side there, how hot I got that. My shoulder's freaking aching right now holding that camera. I did the same procedure on this side. Everything came apart beautifully. However, I jumped the gun on it. Rather than just letting the damn thing cool, going and doing something else, I rushed the job. I put the spiral bushings down in the steering part of the knuckle. I ran a brake honer down through the axle beam, and that axle beam was frickin', it was hot. It was still hot when I did it. It actually burned the stones off of the brake honer. Now, when you put them kingpins in, you want to be able to slide everything in. Everything has got to be able to slide in and out by hand. You're not supposed to use a hammer on it or anything like that. Now, the axle beam itself, that doesn't matter, because that axle beam is going to seize up around that pin, and it's not, you know, that part of it doesn't matter. So the steering hub itself was slightly warm just from the heat traveling up from that I-beam and down from the I-beam. However, with gloves on, I was able to spin the spiral bushings in. Now again, I rushed it. The pin went in and out just beautifully. So I set the steering knuckle up on the I-beam. I started to get the pin in. I'm lining it up. I'm getting it all set, and I've got the proper amount of shims in. I've got my bearing itself that goes on the bottom. It goes between the steering knuckle and the I-beam. I got the bearing in there, and it's all greased. Everything's going like pudding. All of a sudden, the pin starts going in hard, because what is happening is everything is starting to cool down. And what had happened was the axle beam itself, the part that the pin doesn't turn in, that started to shrink around the pin, and I couldn't move it any farther. So now I'm hung in the, I'm screwed. So I ended up heating it up again to get the pin out, and then of course the heat kind of locked everything up. It just turned it into a freaking mess. So I got the pin out, took quite a bit of doing, but I couldn't get the pin. I could hone the axle out. I was able to get the pin to go in and out of the axle beam itself. However, I could not get the pin to go in the upper part of the steering arm. It would go in the lower part, but I couldn't get it to go in the upper part. I kept screwing around. I took the spiral bushing out. I honed it. I sanded it down. I sanded the pin down. I did all of what you could do. So I figured, well, maybe what has happened is maybe the top part of that steering knuckle, maybe that it needs to be cleaned up. So I called the boys out to Allied Spring, talked to Bob. I said, hey, Bob, I got a problem. I need you to frickin' hone this damn steering knuckle out or something. I've got problems here. So he said, yeah, go ahead, bring it on out. So Tim took it out, or Jered, maybe Jered dropped it off. I forget who dropped it off. I think Tim did. But anyway, he took it out there and he said, hey, you screwed this thing up. You got the pin screwed up. We got to replace the pin, and we're going to put regular bronze bushings in there. We're going to go ahead and get that all set up for you. He did that. I had to buy another set of kingpins for it, and it went together today like it should. Now, what I had to do on this left-hand side of the truck, we ended up having to replace the radius arm, steering arm, what the heck do you call that? Drag link. We had to replace that drag link there because I could not get it out of the pitman arm itself. I had to put quite a bit of heat on it. I ended up screwing up the threads and whatever else like that. So we swapped that out of there. I'm going to go look at a receipt now. I got to see how much that cost. So give me a second. I'll tell you how much that drag link cost. All right, we're back at you. I should have done my preparedness, if you will, if that's even a word, before I started this video. But that drag link was just shy of $300, $296. Had to be replaced. You run into them problems. So we put new bearings and whatever in the front hubs, but we ended up putting new brakes on it, so that was kind of a given. But to do the kingpins on the front of this, the kingpins are just shy of $400, but I had to buy freaking 2 kits. I got a half a kit left over, plus that drag link, so your 4 and 4 is 8 and 3 is $1,100, plus labor. So just shy of $1,200, I guess it cost me on this truck here. But everything's all new. It's probably been a good 10 years since we've done kingpins on this truck. Yeah, I should have looked that up before I did the video as well. But it had to be a good 10, 12 years since we've done the kingpins on this. Yeah, somewhere around there. This truck we bought back in 2008, and this truck actually got rolled over here in 2018. We ended up having to put a new hood on it. I've got a video back when we did the work to this truck, and when we rolled it. I didn't roll it back over. There isn't a video on that. But at any rate, I'll put a video and a card link up here or whatever. So we've got some money tied up into this old girl, but she's all ready to go now. Brakes all the way around. Wyatt ended up greasing this truck today, and Jered put a new transmission into this truck, a rebuilt transmission into it. We had some trouble with 3rd and 7th gear. It was jumping out, so it's got a new transmission, new clutch. We've probably got 4 and 12 and another 1,500 in brakes and bearings. There's about around 8 grand, I guess, just adding numbers up quick in my head here. But I do not want to do kingpins the way I've done them in the past again, and I am not going to be doing them like that again. Now, we had a front end alignment done on the W9. We'll walk over there right now. We had a front end alignment done on this. They advised us to swap out the kingpin. So Kenworth dropped off a Stemco Kaiser ream style kingpin set, same style we put in truck 8 here. However, when we go to do this truck, this will be coming up in an up and coming video. We're actually going to be using a Tiger Tool heavy duty kingpin press, part number 90150. This just showed up here today. So Tiger Tool, they've got a hell of a line of tools that I've got to explore a little more. I've got to invest into some of their tools here. I do have one of their U-joint pullers. I did a video on that the other day, actually, when I put the U-joints in the drive line on this truck. That's what we pulled the U-joints out with, was a U-joint puller. I think that was a 10102 Tiger Tool U-joint puller. Now, a couple of guys said, you know, I would just cut them damn things out of there and, you know, be done with it. But when you're removing a U-joint on the truck, say if you've got to just take the drive line out to do a transmission, if you use, or if your truck has what's called full round U-joint, full round U-joints, those are the U-joints that have the 2-bolt cap that goes over the end of the U-joint. So just to get the drive line apart, yeah, you could cut it, but then, you know, the U-joints on this were 140 bucks a piece. You use that tool, you can take that cap or that U-joint off of there and use it over again. In the next video, or the video when it comes time to do the kingpins on this truck, we are going to be doing it with this Tiger Tool kingpin press. And the job is going to go a hell of a lot easier. We're not going to have to heat anything up. We're going to be able to take everything apart cold and then move right into getting that all back together. So with that being said, I guess we're getting a little long on the video here. I've been rambling on. Not much activity been going on in this video. But the next video, we'll work in putting the exhaust on that tractor. Jered ordered the parts and whatnot, and then we'll feature that Tiger Tool tool here in the future as well. So with that being said, folks, remember to leave me a thumbs up, drop me a comment down below, and we will catch you at the next video.